Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome. I had the privilege of visiting these guys. They run Grand Spectrum Solutions out towards Musenberg, Capricorn Park. They showed me around their whole space, and what I was super excited about is that we have, South Africans building lights. So first of all, just tell us what that thing is over there. I know it's a light, but just give us a quick run through.
Okay, so basically this is our binary star. It's 400 watts of power off the wall. And what we've done is we've taken a lot of pre-chips.
That's the 420 watt.
Sorry. We did upgrade recently. This is the 420 watt. We've taken a lot of full spectral chipsets, and we've taken into account that you needed the photo reds, the latest generation. This offers optimal for flowering, basically, when you're looking at the spectral output. And yeah, that's pretty much where we are.
So I know I asked you this before, but can you give the audience an idea of how much a light like that would cost?
Okay, so yeah, this light you're looking at about 15,000 Rand. Yes, and however, you're looking at covering a 1.5 by 1.5 meter area of canopy. Notice that we install efficacy targeting optics. This allows for not only just canopy spread, but deeper penetration further down to the bottom of the plant. So we're used to getting smaller popcorny sized buds, you're now getting solid flowers.
Show them on the charts what you mean with that, Donny.
Show some charts. You got some charts there. So let's explain that.
Okay,
let's hold that up and explain that, because I find this lighting thing very, very confusing. So let's try and unpack it for people who don't understand the technicalities of it.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is the outdoor spectral graph of the sun. That's your full spectrum showing the color spectrum in nanometers. Coming out of UVB, you hit your royal blue, right across the spectrum into your reds and far red, dipping out into the 780 nanometer. What we've done basically is we've taken the major peaks involved, and we've also included most of the other spectrum involved. And this will give you pretty much close to the sun. Like I said before, earlier on in growing, as soon as you optimize your lighting, remember your environmental controls and environmental and everything else, nutrition, everything needs to be up to optimal.
And on that graph as well, you'll see on your red it's peaking because the full spectrum diodes or 4K diodes, and only look at like 3,000 to 5,000, 3,500 Kelvin diodes would have better in flowering. So you lose that on your 4,000 Kelvin. That's why we have far red. So in the middle we run extra supplementary lighting to target the places that don't get light.
So tell me about the different kinds of lights you can get.
Okay, well, you can get basically every type of LED light. When you're looking at the actual chipset, you can get royal blue, and you can get your far red, you can get photo red, you can get red, orange, green, the whole works. However, the full spectral, what we use is the 4,000 Kelvin, that actually covers the full waveform. However, the peak in the red is not at 100%. That's why we adapt certain photo reds to hit that target, and far reds obviously to end the spectrum off.
But there are other choices over and above LED. I think my general understanding is people are going towards LED, but there are still other choices out there. And what kind of lights are those? Because some of those are more affordable.
Yeah, we've got the comparisons between a HPS and a carb light as well with the different graphs. So you must understand that this light here, there's no fans on. So obviously that is a passively cooled light, and there's no moving parts, so it's solid state. So with your HPS, you're going to have to have fans in there, you're going to have humidity control, you're going to have exhausting there. So there's a lot more cost on your side, and running costs also go up. So it might be cheaper, but at the end of the day, you're going to end up paying more.
Because they burn hotter, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And basically with HPS, you need to understand something with HPS as well. There's a difference between clean light output and dirty light output. And when you're looking at HPS, however, you do have a waveform of output that hits a peak to peak that makes it harder for the plant to absorb. Although the absorption rate is pretty good for any indoor lighting, LED is going to start cleaning that lighting up for you. Therefore, your plants are going to absorb a lot quicker, And hence why I say your environmental controls, everything's got to be optimized according to your lighting that you put in.
Let's talk about light burn.
Well,
What that is and how it happens and how you can avoid it.
Well, basically, yes. Light burn, that, once again, there's many factors that can come into place there. That could be lack of calcium, magnesium, your plants being close to the lights, hitting certain lumens. You need to watch out for also temperature on the leaf. You need to look out for several other things as well. Absorption rate. Are the plants trying to absorb too much? Photons coming from your light source and you're not supplementing the right nutrients at that specific time, and vice versa with CO2. So all factors have to come in. As soon as you up a level on your lighting side of thing, everything else changes.
So I want to get into indoor growing. Starting out, lighting is the most expensive thing, really. That's far too expensive for a startup grower at home. You've got smaller models, I think, on display outside. What's an entry-level light going to set someone back?
Oh, goodness, you could look at anything from 60 watts. That will cover, say, about a 600 by 600 millimeter canopy. You're looking at about $3,000. Yeah.
That's reasonable to start off. And how many plants could you grow under that?
Depending, once again, on pot size, plant size, I would say if you're in 5-liter pots, you could probably do 4. If you're looking at growing your plants out a bit bigger, in 10 liters or 15s, I'd say 1 to 2.
What are the things to avoid with lights? You know, there's a lot of people who I've spoken to who have sort of bought these cheap and cheerful things from Chinatown, and they get them home and they don't work properly. What's your advice on that?
Well, it all comes down to spectrum, efficacy, and efficiency. Obviously, chipsets, if they burn at a higher temperature, run at a higher temperature, your output waveform is going to get dirty, and therefore it's going to be harder for the plants to absorb. Yeah, a lot of the cheaper or generic chipsets that you find on the market, they run at a higher temperature. That's giving you dirty output. We make sure that we compensate for, I would say, about 48 degrees running off the back of our chips. So that's pretty much optimum output of wavelength, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that's your, if you're going to touch the sink, it's 45, but your ambient temperature is about 25 on top of it. And you see on every every LED has a dome over it. So that is optical targeting. So even in the space available, it's creating new waveforms within the light itself. So I mean, for a setup like that, if you're running a 3 meter square, we'd advise you, if you're gonna fill the space, then you need to have CO2 columns or supplementary CO2 and stuff like that. But if you're gonna run a smaller setup, you can turn the light down and you can run a smaller setup as well.
Great. I find it quite complicated to get my head around it, but every time I speak to you guys, I learn a little bit more. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for bringing your lights and putting them up. The guys around the back, if you want to check them out, and I'm sure they can give you some advice if you're looking to buy lights. But well done, and I'm really glad to see you guys building your own and pushing the South African scene. So Grand Spectrum Solutions, support them. Give them a round of applause. Thank you.